Welcome to the camp of the 67th New York Volunteer Infantry, also known as the 1st Long Island Volunteers. And we are Civil War reenactors based at the Grange in Sayville on Long Island. And we come to the Grange once a month, last Sunday of every month, to drill. And we are Civil War living historians, as we like to call ourselves. And we're here to keep the memory of those who fought in the war alive. We're dedicated to education and preservation. And we do this through a whole variety of ways, such as today. This is the 5th annual Civil War weekend at the Grange. And we also do the usual parades. We go to Civil War reenactments, such as Gettysburg or Antietam. But we also do a lot of educational programs. We work with a lot of historical societies, and we also visit lots of schools. And this is our big event for the year. We host it. We invite our friends in the Civil War reenactment community to come out, such as the Confederates. And we also have other displays here, such as Civil War Hospital. We have a sutler, which is actually someone who sells Civil War equipment. And we have religious services and a telegraph office. We have a Victorian parlor that's open in the caretaker's house. So there's a lot to see and do here. If you're interested about the 67th New York 1st Long Island Volunteers, just go to our website, which is at www.newyorkcivilwar.com, or you can email liny67th@yahoo.com.
Sometimes we're eating flowers bloom by water still or troubled sea. Still 'tis his hand that leadeth me. He leadeth me, he leadeth me. By his own hand he leadeth me. His heavenly Father, you're welcome to come in. By his hand he leadeth me. You can start it. Lord, I will place my hand in thine, nor never murmur, nor repine. Content whatever lot I see, since 'tis my God that leadeth me. He leadeth me, he leadeth me. On his own hand he leadeth me. His faithful follower I would be, for by his hand he leadeth me. And when my task on earth is done, when by the grace of victory's won, he dashed away, I will not flee. Saints God through Jordan leadeth me. He leadeth me, he leadeth me. By his own hand he leadeth me. His faithful follower I would be, for by his hand he leadeth me.
Field telegraph office, and what it would do is transmit the orders from the captain, company captain that's out on the front lines. They would give it to me on messages, and I would telegraph it either to headquarters or Washington City, and they would get the message if we needed more supplies or ammunition or troops. And it's the first time that the Morse code system and telegraph were ever used in war. Abraham Lincoln himself spent an awful lot of time in Washington's telegraph office just to stay on top of the war, and he insisted that his generals use it, because some of the older gentlemen that were in the Mexican War, they didn't like new technology, and this was high tech in those days. And he could sit there and he taught himself how to send and receive and translate the Morse code system, and he loved it and he embraced it, and he was able to send messages right out to his generals on the front line, but just by using a series of dots and dashes. And this would be received, and then the operators, telegraph operators, would put it down on official telegraph stationary and take it out to the captain or colonel or whoever was in charge. And they would get there and it would be an answer if they asked for more troops. They would say sending 10,000 more troops or sending supply wagons out to people. And that all became very important. Where years ago, they had to use runners or they actually even used mirrors for reflecting. And of course, you have the signal flags, which are used still today on ships. The only problem is, at nighttime, you can't see them. So they needed to send messages at night as well, which this here goes 24/7, anytime you needed it. As long as you had the battery operated to send the message and someone to receive it, you can get communications right out to the generals, or as I said, back to the front lines. And it's the first time they ever tried this kind of technology in war, and it proved itself to be extremely valuable for both sides. The Unions had it first, and then about a year later, the Confederacy started their own telegraph. And both armies, they were taught by the railroad companies because they had been using telegraphs since 1848. So they were well versed on it, and they knew what the limitations were and also the capabilities of this new technology. And they enjoyed it. They enjoyed teaching the Army, and it was all basically from day one how to learn the Morse code system, how to touch on the keyboard, and I call it the it's a primer to today's texting, where you have POS, parent over shoulder. Well, you're doing the same thing with Morse code, except it starts in dashes, completing a sentence, and that's more or less what the text does. And the young people, it's great to show them that they have a little history to them. It didn't just come up overnight. That there was a lot of progress to our communication system and where we are today. And the boys, they enjoy it. They enjoy it. And like I said, I get messages and send them out, and I have a runner that sends it out to the company captain, and he knows that Washington knows what he's up against. So.
This is going to hold maybe a spoon, but it's a long one that's,
Give me a second, I'll be
and then you can put two thinner strips, one on each side, and it just gives you a lot of place to put that. What yes, ma'am?
I'm going to go to Mr. Pathmark.
Mr. Pathwalk's Mercantile? Yeah. I could use that. I will give you mine.
There's a reason why I stack it that way. It allows the air to go underneath it, and it forces the flame to come up through. You can see from nothing, now you have a flame. So,
How long does that last? How long does that burn?
the entire weekend.
Really?
Just by maneuvering, as before you said there was no flames at all. Just by moving the wood in the right direction, it allows the oxygen to feed the ambers. The amber comes up and then feeds the wood, burns the wood. We make all of our food on here. We have a crock pot basically, and you cook everything inside that.
And they slept inside those tents?
We sleep right on the ground,
They usually cut them,
and a lot of us will just sleep right here.
but
So
I made her not cut it.
basically have your wool blanket right here, and you sleep with the wool, and you wrap yourself in the wool, and you just go on the ground.
My name is Joe. I've been in the Sons of Union Veterans of Civil War for approximately 12 to 13 years. My grandfather and his brother George served in the 10th New York Volunteer Infantry at the beginning of the war. It was known as the National Zouaves Regiment. They were in all the battles up to Chancellorsville, which is kind of a lot for 2 years, 9 battles in 2 years. My grandfather was sent TDY to an artillery outfit, and his brother George remained with the regiment And I really don't have the full details after January 1862 as to that artillery regiment's record. But I do know about the 10th New York, and George was there for all the major events. And the 10th and the 5th New York performed a great service at the Battle of Second Manassas. They held off the whole division, John Bell Hood, at Shin Ridge, and they lost an awful lot of their regiments, the 2 regiments. Over 300 guys were killed in the 2 regiments, and a couple of hundred were wounded. And this was after the battles down in the 7 days battle on the peninsula. What was left of the regiment went on to Fredericksburg, and following that they fought Chancellorsville, and then they were mustered out. And both of them came home in May of 1863, right after the battle of Chancellorsville. After the war, they both came back to New York, but my granduncle George couldn't stand the noise in the city. Undoubtedly, he had been in 9 battles, and the noise bothered him, and to this day we believe he had post-traumatic stress disorder. He just couldn't stand noise. So he moved up to Schoharie, New York, where it was quiet. My grandfather became a railroad detective on the Boston West shoreline, which he did that work for about 40 years. He married right after he got out of the service, but unfortunately his first wife passed away young, and he waited again to get married until he was about 35 or 40, I'm not exactly sure of the date. And he had 2 girls, one of which was my mother and the other was my aunt. And people ask me how come I have a grandfather or a granduncle in the Civil War. It was because my mother had 9 children, of which I'm the youngest, and I'm 80, close to 80 right now. And my older brothers and sisters actually knew my grandfather. The older 3 or 4 of them got to meet him before he died in the early 1920s. So that's how I had a grandfather in the Civil War.
Yeah. You used to put that in a frying pan that was stuck in the fire. And that so you had to have several irons to keep one hot and use one.
It is right. Count to count. 1, 2, 1. Now do it so I can hear you. Stage rank, count 2s, count 1, 2, 1, 2, 4, 1, 2.
They're gonna fight.
That way, we're gonna
Order, home.
Everyone loaded, clean rifles, plenty of water.
Copy. No water. Copy. Inspection off. That's okay. Come on.
Listen to me and listen to me good, guys. There's a scenario that we're going into. We're going to be taking a hostage. When you take the hostage, you will not have a weapon loaded. Make sure the thing is discharged already. Okay? We'll decide when we get out there which one of you guys are going to grab the guy. We already know who on that side who it is, where they're going to be. All right? How tricky
I didn't know why I was here. I didn't know we were here.
I don't know if that's even going to fire.
Clean it.
I'm gonna have to worry about something.
I just picked it up the other day. Last bottle, oh, there's another store close to my house that sells it.
Oh, good.
Medford. That's the one right next to the motor vehicle.
Okay. Oh, good.
Yeah, one bottle. They're the only other place I call them other places. Yes, we have Rebel Yell.
Step out right at that one.
But the good thing about lake is,
I like going to the lake because the wine guy, would they have it there? One guy. Well, I mean, he sells everything. Yeah, he sells for all. But does he have reserve? No reserve.
Oh, guys, stand around. One more. Okay. Should have ran your rifle. I don't know if they want to let it slice. Right? You know that. You know that.
That are recorded under the federal records. Some of them only involved a few men on a picket line, but they were as deadly as the big battles. What we're going to show you today is the skirmishing that occurs between two groups at Shepherdtown Gap in what is now West Virginia. Technically it was still Virginia according to the South. It was West Virginia according to the North. And Lee's army is moving out and leaving Gettysburg. There is constant skirmishing as the towns are being held, and you'll see that going on. Every once in a while, you'll hear the skirmishers firing.
Company, dismiss. You're not going anywhere. You got to
Okay. Yeah, well, look, you know, we can take as much as we want. It is on camera mode.
Oh, I think video and photo.
Oh.
Tell me what you want.
Video. Yeah, for action, video.
Yeah. What I do is during video.
You bought one? Huh? You bought one?
Oh, yeah, yeah. It's,
Oh, Brian
that's why I
did?
like that.
They were nice.
What they would do is take their shoes off. They were used to going barefoot all summer anyway. So the troops would march as much as possible without ruining their shoes. On a road like this, which they would call Maccannon, it would be bad. So they would put shoes on. They're now being called to muster. Officers are coming out. Something's happening. Ladies and gentlemen, each of these units is carrying 58.58 caliber. That's a half-inch, fire and a half-inch lead. What is known in most books as a mini ball or mini ball. Company ready! Hey! Fire! Bravo, load! Quickly, boys, quickly! Come to the shoulder when you're ready. Company ready! Aim! Fire! Go! Go! Company, go! That's the spirit.
right, boys, elevate. Elevate.
Oh, gosh, get back. Fake gun. No, they're real.
Steady, boys. Steady.
Yeah, what?
Pull back, slowly. Come on, Johnny. Oh! Let's fire. Rest.
I know we're running out of time.
Go. Get those clothes.
Ooh, it stinks.
Second move. Fall back. First stand. Second move. Now he's pulling. Hold back. Stonewall doing rip. Alright. This is what we're gonna do. I want to skirmish.
Seriously?
Run. Ceasefire. Shoot. We'll make the exchange in the square of town. Very good. Great. Doc? Doc. Well, you boys are sure ugly up close. Same way. Off.